Hello to all. This is Jody Graves. Sometime go by Joe with most of you, or Joe Bernard. And I was hoping to get all of the church brothers to come out and visit with me. As most of you know and understand, I'm in a hospice situation after I've been fighting cancer now for 3 years. And I still believe that I will beat it in the name of Jesus Christ, either in this life or that life which is to come. So I was hoping to get the brethren to come out and meet with me. And it turned out I got this idea to do the video because this church offering or program, what have you, that I'm about to offer you is limited. And I'd like to be able to go and offer it to other churches, so other churches listen up. This is an offer to connect with your community, invite them out to dine with you, and offer them the opportunity to know about Christ or share with them a little bit about Christ and a little bit about your church. And hopefully you can stir up a little bit of discipleship that way and build your church a little bit. And so I realized that there is a financial component to all of this, and I would like to offer $2,000 a month toward just such a program to connect with your community and offer them to your churches. Okay? Couple things that go along with that is that I'd hope to work with a church for about 3 months or so, minimum, and get them to hopefully be able to fund the program for themselves after some degree of success. Okay, so it might not be the best thing to let everybody know it's being funded, but my commitment and obligation would be to fund it, help the church start it out. So naturally, I'm concerned about a few things, and I want to make sure that I'm with a church that is Christ-centered and that doesn't compromise Christ in such a way that they are allowing evil practices among their members and practices that are unacceptable by the New Testament standard. And so that's a concern of mine, but I think there's things that's more of a concern of mine is sometimes difficulty to convince others to work with maybe someone that might be considered outside your church. And many thoughts that might come up. I wrote a book back in 2018, China, Hell, and Israel is the name of the book, and it's all about Bible prophecy. And I actually had people that would ask me the question, were you called to write that book? And all I could communicate to them, they want me to confirm with them or seeking a sign of sort. So like when the Pharisees and Sadducees asked Jesus for a sign, it's very similar. And this is what I could tell them, is that God calls us to do whatever is good and right and those things that are according to his will. And he asked us to pray, and he would answer according to his will. That's very straightforward. That's very clear what God has called us to do. To disciple, to go out, to prospect. Shouldn't be any question about that. But some would actually ask that kind of a question about something like this. So if you have that question rolling around in your mind, whether I was called to do this, that's my answer, is that we are called to do all things that is good and right and according to his will. And if we are followers of Christ, these things are expected. Another thing that might come up is some might ask, well, did God tell you something? As if to say that if God didn't tell you to do this, that you shouldn't be doing it. And it really runs along the same lines as this idea of calling, is that God doesn't have to tell us something. And in fact, I had a cousin here recently. I had to stop her mid-sentence because she got to a point where everything she was saying was God told her. And I stopped her mid-sentence and I said, well, wait a minute now. Every time you have a thought, that ain't God telling you something. And every time you do a church program, it doesn't mean that God has to come down and tell somebody something. And God doesn't typically operate in that fashion, although many would lead you to believe that he does. I would say the same to them. Your thoughts are not God speaking to you, and you shouldn't be like the Pharisees and Sadducees and looking for a sign or some kind of confirmation. You should know if a thing is good and right and according to God's will. And that's pretty straightforward in the New Testament. It's unquestionable. There are those that perhaps if you don't line up with their way of thinking or their way of practice, or for many reasons, because there is a particular doctrine out there, it's a false doctrine, that says not everyone is a Christian, and there are some that are assigned to never be a Christian and are assigned to condemnation from the foundation of the world. That's false doctrine that supports the eternal salvation point of view. And the reason I say it's a false doctrine is because God promised, he made a solemn promise. When God makes a promise, he can't go against it, that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. And God doesn't force people to worship him. He doesn't want your worship if it's forced. And God promised that Christ must reign until all of his enemies become enemies under his feet. And Christ himself said that I will build my church and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So even though you have people that are entering into the gates of hell, it doesn't prevent the church. They will be resurrected. They will be turned away from Christ to live in less than desirable conditions, but the church is everlasting. And that's the promise. God made a solemn promise that the church will never depart. It will never be removed. It will always be available, not only in this life, but in that life which is to come. And under extreme difficult living circumstances, such as tribulation or hell, the church is promised to be available until every single soul ever lived comes under Christ, is subdued to Christ, and then Christ is subject to the Father. And the reason I bring this up is that some believe that, well, some are not Christians in the first place, and so with that kind of thought running around in your mind, you might make certain judgments, even though you won't make them out loud, because you know you shouldn't judge, but you'll make certain judgment calls and certain decisions based on your idea that, well, this individual doesn't seem like he's even a Christian, okay, as they would put it. And so there's many different reasons out there that people go with to make decisions, and I would hate for anyone to miss an opportunity like this. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I could give you a lot of background. You know, I've been a Christian for 43 years, the writing of the book, the churches that I've gone to, and so forth. But ultimately, it's up to you to make the decision. I left out a little bit on the introduction. So I'm producing these cards that would have your church logo on one side of it, and would have a QR code go to a website to explain the dining opportunity. And it says "Welcome Home" on the top, and a little script on the back side of it, and also inviting them to come and dine with us. So those are cards that I make for your congregation and for you, and I create the website. Okay, and all of that is in part of my part of developing this discipleship ministry and offering it to your church. There's many other things. I hope that this would help you to develop some questions and get some kind of an idea of what I'm offering you. And I hope that you would consider something like this in good faith, that you should know what is God's will, and you should even say, to some extent, no one should have to pay us for us to do God's will. But I realize that there's a financial component to this, and I'm willing to help design and pioneer a ministry like this and get it off of the ground, because God has enabled me with the opportunity to do it. So please pray about it and consider the things that I've shared with you in making your decision, and follow up with me, and I'll give it some time, a month or so, before I move on. Right now, I'm only communicating with one church at a time and starting this program with one church at a time. So I hope that it will be your church. Please do contact me with the information that I have provided. Good day. God bless you. And may He be with you in your church.